Every map looks permanent. Clear borders, familiar names, and fixed coastlines. But history proves that nothing on Earth stays the same. Some countries today are slowly breaking apart, while others are vanishing underwater, and a few are being swallowed by their neighbors or collapsing from within. In the next century, several nations could literally disappear, wiped from the map not by war, but by time, politics, and the planet itself. These are the countries that may not exist in the future. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean between Hawaii and Australia lies Tuvalu, one of the world's smallest and lowest-lying countries. Its highest point is only 4.6 meters above sea level. Rising tides already flood homes, roads, and cemeteries. Tuvalu's land area is just 26 square kilometers, 9 small coral islands surrounded by lagoons. Climate scientists estimate that by 2100, most of it could be uninhabitable. Salt water is destroying the crops, groundwater is turning brackish, and storm surges regularly cover entire villages. The government is preparing for its disappearance. Officials have digitized the entire nation, scanning land deeds, archives, and monuments to preserve its identity, even if its physical territory is lost. Australia and New Zealand have agreed to accept future climate refugees, and Tuvalu may soon become the first country in history to exist entirely online as a digital nation without land. But Tuvalu isn't the only island running out of time. Only a few hundred kilometers away, another Pacific country is fighting the same losing battle against the sea. Straddling the equator, Kiribati is scattered across 33 atolls that are spread over an area the size of India. However, the islands themselves could fit inside of a small city. Some rise barely 2 meters above sea level, and every high tide eats away at its coastlines. Wells turn salty, crops die out, and villages retreat inland, even though inland might only mean 50 meters. A government has already purchased land in Fiji to relocate part of its population when the islands sink completely. What makes it unique is its geography. It's the only nation that lies in all 4 hemispheres. But as sea levels rise, that rare global footprint could vanish altogether. If predictions hold, it could be the first entire country lost to climate change. While islands fight to stay above water, another nation is disappearing in a different way, not from the sea, but from politics and power. Taiwan is one of Asia's most advanced economies, a global hub for technology and microchip manufacturing. Yet it exists under constant threat. The People's Republic of China considers it a breakaway province, while Taiwan sees itself as an independent nation. The world's major powers walk a diplomatic tightrope, recognizing Beijing officially, but supporting Taiwan militarily and economically. The result is one of the most fragile political balances on Earth. China's leadership has repeatedly vowed to reunify Taiwan peacefully if possible, by force if necessary. If conflict ever erupts, Taiwan might not disappear geographically, but its independence could vanish overnight. For decades, its people have built a distinct identity, democratic, modern, and separate. But the map does not guarantee permanence. For Taiwan, disappearance doesn't mean sinking under the ocean. It means losing sovereignty. If Taiwan's threat comes from human politics, another country faces the same risk, not from invasion, but from internal collapse. On the eastern shore of the Mediterranean, Lebanon was once called the Switzerland of the Middle East. Today, it's on the verge of economic and political collapse. Decades of corruption, sectarian division, and financial mismanagement have drained the state. The Lebanese pound has lost over 95% of its value. Electricity often runs only for a few hours a day, and entire sectors like health, education, and security have crumbled. Lebanon's borders may still exist on the map, but its institutions barely function. Analysts warn that if the situation continues, Lebanon could fracture into regional zones controlled by different factions, effectively ceasing to exist as a unified country. The danger here is not war from outside, it's decay from inside. When a country loses the ability to govern itself, borders mean nothing. Lebanon's crisis shows how states can disappear without invasion, but another one might vanish under even more pressure, the weight of its own identity crisis. Belgium sits quietly between France, Germany, and the Netherlands, but inside its borders it's split into 2 worlds. In the north, Flanders speaks Dutch. In the south, Wallonia speaks French. The 2 regions have separate political parties, schools, and even media networks. Belgium has gone over 600 days without a functioning government, multiple times simply because the 2 sides can't agree on how to share power. Polls show growing support for a peaceful split, with Flanders possibly joining the Netherlands and Wallonia aligning with France. The irony is that Brussels, the capital of Belgium, is also the capital of the European Union, a city symbolizing unity inside of a country that may soon divide. While Belgium faces a political divide, one Asian nation faces a literal divide where the world's highest border might one day separate 2 very different countries. North North Korea's isolation is absolute, a closed system dependent on one family, one ideology, and one fragile balance without the outside world. Economic sanctions, food shortages, and an aging leadership have made the regime increasingly unsustainable. Analysts predict that if power ever slips through economic collapse or a leadership vacuum, reunification with South Korea could follow rapidly, ending North Korea's existence as a separate state. Its disappearance would not be the result of conquest, but the implosion of a nation that's too rigid to evolve, collapsing into its southern neighbor. For decades, the Korean peninsula has symbolized a vision. One day, that dividing line may vanish entirely. Some countries could vanish through political change, while others through something much more slow and unstoppable: nature itself. Tourism posters show overwater villas, coral reefs, and turquoise seas, but those same waters are swallowing the nation that built them. The Maldives, with an average elevation of just 1.5 meters, could be completely underwater by 2100. The government is already relocating people from smaller atolls to the larger island of Mali, one of the most crowded cities on Earth. It's also investing in floating cities, artificial islands designed to rise with the sea. But no engineering can outpace physics forever. If global temperatures rise beyond 2 degrees Celsius, the Maldives could lose most of its land within the lifetime of today's children. Its disappearance would erase not only a country, but a culture, one built entirely on the ocean. But while the Maldives faces the rising sea, one country faces the exact opposite. It's disappearing under the sand. In Central Africa, the country of Chad is slowly being swallowed by the Sahara Desert. Its once massive Lake Chad, which supported millions of people, has shrunk by over 90% since the 1960s. As the lake dries, farmland turns to dust, and communities migrate south in search of water. The desert advances by kilometers each and every year, erasing villages while forcing constant displacement. This environmental collapse fuels instability. With no resources left to share, tribal and regional tensions have escalated into conflict. The county's borders still stretch from the desert north to the fertile south, but the middle, which has held the population together, is vanishing. If the trends continue, Chad risks becoming an empty state, lines on a map with no life in between. And while the Sahara expands, another frozen frontier is cracking open, putting one of the world's most unique nations at risk of breaking apart. Greenland isn't disappearing physically, it's the ice that's vanishing, but as it retreats, so does old Greenland. For decades, it's balanced between autonomy and dependency under Danish rule, and now as melting ice exposes new resources, outside powers are circling. China, the United States, and Europe are all competing for influence. If the environment continues to change, Greenland could gain independence, only to lose control of itself to global powers and corporations. Its identity as an isolated, icy homeland could melt faster than the glaciers. While Greenland's struggle is geopolitical, one tiny European state faces a more quiet threat: economic extinction. San Marino is one of Europe's oldest republics, a microstate surrounded by Italy. But as economies modernize, San Marino's independence becomes more symbolic than practical. It relies on Italy for trade, infrastructure, and access to the European Union. Without EU membership, it struggles to maintain its financial system, tourism, and youth population. More and more of the young population are leaving for work in Italy, leaving behind an aging older population. Economists predict that within a few generations, San Marino could quietly integrate into Italy, not by invasion, but by inevitability. Its disappearance would be the gentlest kind of extinction, one handshake at a time. Some countries may vanish through politics, while others through nature, but one faces both at once, standing at the crossroads of fire and ice. Iceland is not in danger of being conquered or submerged, but its existence as an independent nation faces a slow economic squeeze. The island relies on fishing, tourism, and energy exports, and industries that climate change is already transforming. Warming seas are shifting fish populations northward, and unpredictable weather threatens tourism. Melting glaciers risk altering its geothermal balance. As the Arctic becomes a new geopolitical hotspot, Iceland's strategic position may turn it from independent state to contested zone, a pawn between superpowers like the US, Russia, and China seeking Arctic routes. Its geography is breathtaking: volcanoes, glaciers, and endless coastlines, but its future may depend less on nature and more on global politics. The forces that create countries' geography, economy, and identity are the same that eventually erase them. And in 1,000 years, today's borders may look as ancient as the empires before them. When future historians study the nations that once were, they'll find that disappearance wasn't always dramatic. Sometimes it happened quietly, one wave, one vote, and one generation at a time. The world is full of mysteries, and we're here to crack them. Thanks for watching World Cracked. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.